I want to share with you a story about Rabbi Akiva's daughter. The famous Rabbi Akiva had a wonderful daughter, but unfortunately, astrologers told him that one day something terrible was going to happen to her, and in fact, that day would be her wedding day. Now, Rabbi Akiva never told anyone. He didn't want to scare his daughter, so he didn't tell her that this had been foretold to him. And he waited patiently, and she grew up and became a young woman, and it was time for her to get married. And even on her wedding day, he didn't say a word to her, even though in his heart he was concerned because he had heard from the astrologers that on her wedding day something terrible was going to happen to her. And so the day of her wedding arrived, and she was a wonderful bride, and she saw that there was a poor man that entered her celebration. And she ran up to him and said, "Welcome to our wedding," found him a seat, took care of him, made sure he had plenty of food, and only once he was looked after did she go back to celebrating and enjoying her wedding. That night, when her and her husband were going to bed, she took out the pin that had been holding her head covering, and she didn't know where to put it. So she just pierced it into the wall. The next morning, when she woke up, she went to take her hairpin out of the wall, and she let out a huge scream because her hairpin was attached through to the wall, but also through the head of a snake, a really poisonous snake. And the pin had pierced right through the snake's eye and killed it, and it was hanging there on the wall. And she ran to tell her father what had happened, to tell Rabbi Akiva. And she said, "I don't understand how this happened, but when I woke up in the morning, my hairpin had pierced the eye of a very poisonous snake, and it was hanging on my wall." Rabbi Akiva looked at her and said, "Can you think, was there any special mitzvah that you did yesterday? Any special deed that you did?" She thought about it, and she said, "Well, there was a poor man that came to the wedding, and I did make sure to invite him in and look after him and give him food." And Rabbi Akiva said to her, "Wow, this is the mitzvah that merited you to be saved from this horrible, horrible death." And then Rabbi Akiva went to the Beit Midrash, to the house of study, and went to teach the others the importance of Tzadaka. And he said, giving Tzadaka saves a person from death. And that was the story that inspired that teaching. So for all of us, whenever we give Tzadaka, whenever we give something, some money to someone who needs it, not only are we performing a beautiful mitzvah, but who knows, we may even be protecting ourselves from something worse.